Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now.
I remember he had a conversation with somebody about this, and he was pretty much saying to them, if you're going to be truthful to somebody, you can't necessarily be concerned about their reaction or how they'll feel about it or how objective you're being. You got to simply be truthful. And when you're truthful, there's a chance that somebody's going to get their feelings hurt.
You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
You've connected a lot with a lot of young men, lots of different people, but young men particularly seem to, find something in your message. I'm a young man. I'd like to be improved, please. I want to stop being a pathetic weasel.
Yeah, that would be good. Clean up your room. I don't know how you can go out and protest the structure of the entire economic system if you can't keep your room organized.
What are the limits of that idea, though? Because you can have a lovely clean room, but if for my generation, we're looking down the barrel of climate change, we can't afford a house, some people can't get work, university education's unaffordable. Like, there are these huge, massive problems in society and the political economy that are also going to, screw us over in the big picture that the clean room isn't going to necessarily fix.
If you're going to fix complicated problems, you have to learn how to fix simple problems first.
I want to know.
Yeah, you're just talking about some structure, cleanliness, taking yourself seriously enough that like those little things are fixable and controllable. So if you just start to train your mind on the little things, then you can start to train your mind on the bigger things. And something that's clean, like cleaning your room, that should be something you should want to do. I mean, like if you want success and you want greatness, then you should want the smaller things like cleaning your room and washing your ass to be some of the things that because that doesn't look, cleanliness is next to godliness is what they say. I don't know who they are, but that's what they gonna say.
If you're going to fix complicated problems, you have to learn how to fix simple problems first.
I want to know, what is your answer to young people for some of the really big problems facing humanity, like the climate catastrophe, like economic crisis, like the precarious job market? Because they just don't, you talk all this much about individual responsibility. Most of us are never going to be able to afford to have all of these assets to have responsibility over. So what is your advice beyond banal comments like clean your room?
It's actually rather difficult to answer a question that ends with your comments are banal. Politely. I would consider that more of an opinionated, personal and political statement than actually a question. So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
A trans woman is a...
Wow! Sheesh! Okay. She shot fire. She shot some... she fired some shots and he fired some back at her. That's simply what that was. He fired them right back at her. He was like, you tried to mix in the question with all that BS, but I'm about to call you out on your shite. And because of that, you're not going to get your question answered unless you want to give it another go.
So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
A trans woman is a real woman.
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
I'm not going to ask you guys to let me know whether or not you believe that to be true or not, because I believe people are unable to really write what they want to write because some answers go against community guidelines. So, but if you can, in a roundabout way, let me know how you feel about that. Please do.
And they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
Interested in people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
Aha, well, so the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that, just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male, and we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours, they work more dangerous jobs, they're more likely to move, they're more likely to work outside, they're more likely to participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable, they make more money for those reasons, and that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender.
I got to go watch that whole conversation right there. Please let me know if you know what conversation that is right there. Please let me know, because I got to hear her retort. I got to. He made some very valid points, and I have to hear what she says after that. I'm mad at the Ali Malik. Thank you so much for posting this video, this compilation, brother. But I wish you would have kept that on there. Hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender.
Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
So,
Well, that's
I don't like
highly
Nazis.
debatable. That's highly debatable.
actually,
one
it's
of the things
absolutely true, because there's never been a secular humanist government on the planet.
I don't know. I think the Soviets were pretty secular.
No,
humanists.
Then,
I know
with all due apologies, you do not know the first thing about what secular humanism is. You should read the Secular Humanist Manifesto.
I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Wow. I need to know what that conversation is too. I want to go check that one out as well. God dang it, there's so many conversations I want to check out from this man.
You should read the Secular Humanist Manifesto.
I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I have
but you get
exercised
my
my freedom of
point.
speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
And
do
that is
you-
what you should do. But
And
you're
do you
exercising
think-
your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Except you haven't sat there and I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
you have got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work that.
History. You've written the idea that women were oppressed throughout history is an appalling theory. They haven't had a great time, though, have they?
Who has had a great time in history?
But men have had less of a
Really?
shitty
Have
time.
they? Have
A
they?
lot of
By
the
what
time.
standard? By what standard?
Well, I'm just saying if you're a woman.
Thank you, Jordan Peterson, for setting his old punk ass not wanting to take accountability for men straight. God dang it, he dang on trying to make excuses for men. Men have much. We had a hard time in life.
Had less of a
Really?
shitty
Have
time.
they? Have
A
they?
lot of
By
the
what
time.
standard? By what standard?
Well, I'm just saying if you're a woman.
How about
it
war?
But it took longer for women to get the vote, and women belong to their husbands. And in this country, one woman dies every week from domestic violence. A man dies like once a month, I believe, from that same cause. Like, aren't there some clearly obvious things that women are victim of
There are
as a result of their
inequalities.
gender?
There are inequalities in the catastrophes that the genders are subject to. And so, look, first of all, there's some things we got to get straight. History is a rough business. Everybody had it rough. In 1895, the typical Westerner lived on less than $1 a day, which is absolute poverty by today's standards, right? And so people were brutally poor for almost the entire course of human history. It was rough. You say, well, did men or women have it worse? It's like, well, that's a complicated question. But one of the things you can say is everybody had it pretty damn bad.
Everybody had it pretty bad, but if you had to choose one who had it worse, it would be extremely subjective, and everybody will have their reasons they will have many different reasons why they support one or the other. So yeah, that's another sensitive situation right there. I mean, because men out there doing all of the physical crap to bring in the bacon and all this other stuff, and the women are doing an equally hard, difficult job, having and raising children by themselves, and not having the full rights of a man for a very long time. So it's a lot that everyone, both sides are going through. But if you had to, it does not negate the fact that that women are still misrepresented and underappreciated. I think women are extremely underappreciated and misrepresented. And if you have something different to say about that, please let me know in the comments. That opinion will change once having a conversation with somebody who can just let me know why that is not so, because That's where I am right now. There's certain things I haven't taken a stance on, like the position of Jordan Peterson. I don't have a full stance on where I am with regard to many things that he believes. Although I think the guy is a genius, certain things he stand for or stand against, I don't 1,000%, 100% jive with right now. But at the end of the day, I do think women are misrepresented and underappreciated.
Marxists say, well, that wasn't real Marxism. What it really means, and I've thought about this for a long time, it's the most arrogant possible statement anyone could ever make. It means if I would have been in Stalin's position, I would have ushered in the damn utopia instead of the genocidal massacres, because I understand the doctrine of Marxism and everything about me is good. It's like, well, think again, sunshine. I'm not suggesting in the least, and have never suggested, that there's no domain for social action. I'm suggesting that people who don't have their own houses in order should be very careful before they go about reorganizing the world, which happens in many ways. I see a backlash against masculinity, and a sense that there's something toxic about masculinity.
What is this idea of being over? Why is society overly feminized?
Well, I didn't ever say that society was overly feminized. So if we're going to discuss my views, we should use my actual words.
I love that. I like how he checked people based off of what he knows exactly what he said. And he's a better guy than me, because I don't remember what I said yesterday.
Society was overly feminized. So if we're going to discuss my views, we should use my actual words.
Women got full legal rights.
They'll have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
Wait a minute. Okay, if I'm wrong, guys, please, I apologize. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. The gentleman all the way to the opposite side of Jordan Peterson, is that a trans man? I mean, a trans man, trans woman? When you go from a woman to a man, trans man, please let me know in the comments. Yeah, please let me know.
People I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share. That's pure narcissism at work, by the way.
A question.
He's saying that wasn't about bigotry. That was about themselves. They just wanted to seem important at the moment.
A question for Professor Peterson. Why do you feel that someone's personal gender identity and pronouns infringes your free speech? Can one not also argue, based on your interpretation, that professors can use racial slurs in their classroom and that the inability to do so would violate their freedom of speech?
There's a difference between saying that there's something you can't say and saying that there are things that you have to say. And I regard these made-up pronouns, all of them, as the neologisms of radical PC authoritarians. Do you understand that? And I'm not a fan of that sort of person. And the reason I'm not a fan of that sort of person is because I've done my homework. I've read everything I can get my hands on in the development of authoritarian political systems, and I know the literature inside out and backwards. And I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest. And that's that.
Whoa! He went off, man. He said, and that dude he's serious. He studied, and based off of his studies, you are not changing his mind.
For language that I detest. And that's that. The whole patriarchy thing, I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't. Go on.
Throughout history.
Why should...
All right, per usual, man, I want to hear what you all have to say in the comments below. If you have yet to hit that subscribe button and the bell, please please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I am Van, and now we are all the LFR family, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video and hopefully inside of the Patreon as well. You guys have been amazing. Love y'all.